energy and they push the players on. I think, we tell the players all the time, take the energy from the fans and put it in your veins. And you look at some of the actions in extra time. Aldair Sanchez, he's played how many minutes in the past few weeks, and he's still running and crossing the box and cramping up, coming off, going back on. Like, I think that's the connection between the players and the fans right there.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Tide Talk, the Rhode Island FC podcast for the fans, by the fans. I'm your host, Matt. Whether you're a day one sicko or new to RIFC, you found your home. Every episode, we're breaking down the latest from Rhode Island FC, the matches, the moments, the players, and everything happening in and around the club. Before we dive in, make sure you're following Tide Talk across all of our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, and everywhere else you scroll. Stay locked in for updates, exclusive content, and all things Rhode Island FC. If you're joining us on YouTube, please say hi and share your thoughts in the chat. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, please take a second to subscribe, like the video, like our podcast, and leave us a review. It helps us grow and bring even better content each and every single week. All right, let's cozy up, crack a beer. I still can't hear Ryan. That's why we were a little late. So I don't know. Ryan, can you?
What's up, everybody?
Nope. I do not have Ryan. So I guess we'll figure it out. We got people joining on High Motor from High Motor as well. Hello, Justin. How are you? Get that down. Hopefully the lateness, you were able to see our different intro video in Kano in the post-match, talking about the fans and telling the players to inject that into their veins each and every time they go out there, because the atmosphere at RAFC last night was truly incredible. And it was a great start from the lots and a great start all around, and just a really good, night, and great night to be a fan of the club. Obviously, the result did not go the way we wanted. And that is tough, but people in the chat are saying they can hear Ryan. So that's the interesting part, because I can't hear Ryan. So this is going to be incredible. I don't know how we do this, Ryan. You got to send me hand signals.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
I think I got you.
Oh, good.
I think I got you a little bit. Let me adjust the headphones. I'll start with you. You watched at home, and then I'll kick it to my thing.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere looked absolutely incredible on screen. Was hoping to be there, couldn't make it at the end. I would say Timmy's.
That went analog. I got you now.
Beautiful. Timmy's picture that he sent of him with a pretzel actually almost put me over the edge for the evening, but it looked unbelievably delicious. He wrote about it in his player ratings. I won't spoil it, but it got top marks there. But yeah, overall, I was just excited to see like how packed the stadium looked on TV, the content that you and other folks took from like the lot ahead of time. People were just really excited about this one, and for good reason.
Yeah, definitely. I will say at first, getting there and even kind of starting the match, I was a little bit worried, as the lot was a little thin, and many people made similar comments to it. The march was a little thin. Shout out to Joe Burns, who almost broke his ankle stepping in a hole in his sandals. That was almost a tragic start for that. But overall, we got to the stadium, got in, and the section filled in very quickly. And I cannot say the same about the opposite section across from our goal.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the pictures from before the match, I thought I couldn't tell on Twitter and like Instagram if people were joking or not, because there were people like the great Rev support here, and then it was like basically the behind the goal in I think the north entrance or the non-concession entrance was basically empty. So I was hearing about this great Rev support. They have multiple supporters groups. They're unbelievable, best in New England. And I saw very few people. I think I saw a flag for a little bit and it would go away. And, just kind of compared to what we were seeing on the other touchline or the other end zone, basically was night and day there.
Yeah, I think one of the things for them might have just been that they're used to being spread out in a much bigger area. So the fact that the 15 of them were, confined into one space, I think was... made it look so great for them. But I went through, had a very good steak and cheese from Joe Burns in the parking lot, so shout out to my guy Joe. And then I walked into the pretzel line as well, and Kevin says in the chat, I honestly think the pretzels took a nosedive from last year, which is a pretty controversial take. I will say the pretzel that I had last night, I don't know if it was in the warmer too long, but the bottom was way too crispy compared to the rest of it. It had an audible crunch to it. So having had pretzel bites multiple times this season, I'm going to stand on the platform that the pretzel bites are the superior product in the pretzel stand.
I mean, I've had both. I've always thought they were fantastic. Again, I haven't tried any pretzel this year, but again, my first game back, if the pretzel stand's open, I will. That is the first stop for me. The salty knot.
So Timmy wants to know if people heard his train horn, and I do want to give an updated player ratings for Timmy's performance on the train horn. 1 out of 10. Piss poor. Matt Jean absolutely kills the train horn vibes all game long. Timmy was just standing, holding that thing, gripping it like the first time he found it, but not pulling the trigger. Didn't really know what to do with it. I think around the 83rd minute, I finally took it from him, blasting it away, and some guy sitting next to Timmy said, "Hey, do you mind if I try that?" Absolutely. Gave it back to Timmy for the last few minutes, and it was, I think, a very different experience with Timmy on the horn versus two Matts on the horn.
Listen, you said Matt Jean kills it on the vibe. Timmy killed the vibe, which, classic Timmy fashion. He's a quick learner, that Timmy. So hopefully next time he'll understand that more train horn is better, especially when you can kind of toot along with whatever Labanda's doing. So, Timmy, there's a first time for everything, bud. I believe in you that you'll put in maybe a Timmy Sclafani 6 out of 10 next time. I'm not going to go too high. I'm not going to be too ambitious, but I believe in you, bud.
And Tyler nailed it in the chat. Not sure we would have scored if Timmy had stayed on the horn. So I switched in from my wave kit to my Tie Talk Polo right before the goal was scored as well. So a lot of big things happened leading up to that. But Matt Jean is a trained professional, and I learned from the best. And Timmy just liked to hold things, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that we are seeing some people in the chat sticking up for the pretzels, which is what I want to see. So it sounds like you might have got maybe the early batch or a weird batch, which is great. So good to see that pretzels, delicious. I see a lot of butter talk. I see a lot of saltiness. I mean, that's what you're going for with the pretzel. So
yeah, Pawtucket J, who was standing directly in front of me, said he did a great job blowing it in my ear.
Oh my god!
And that was Timmy, because Timmy, when he was holding said horn, if this was the horn, our thumbs up logo, and again, smash that like button if you haven't already. Timmy was angling it down in front of him instead of holding it up to the sky and letting it echo and bellow throughout the halls of Tidewater.
And the worst is, like, I was like, oh, did he get it? He have too many of those $4 or whatever they were giving away last night. I know he definitely didn't drink because he had a presentation this morning. So, like, unforgivable to me.
Yeah. Derek says, I got a fever. The only prescription is more train horn. We from Tide Talk apologize that Timmy could not satisfy that for you. All right, let's move on to more pressing things. Let's start with the actual match itself. And the starting lineup with Koke Vegas and net, Aldair Sanchez, Grant Stoneman, Dwayne Atkinson, Pity Rodriguez, Noah Fusan, Clay Holstead, Logan Dorsey, Nick Scardina, Karifa Yao, Amos Shapiro Thompson. Ryan, you were on here last time saying that Kano was going to treat this like the USL Championship final. That is not the starting 11 I would have picked if we were in the USL Championship final.
Yeah, it was funny too. I did the little video clipper tool, and I almost posted that clip, but it was so tight between the Sunday night show and Tuesday match that we never posted any clips from last show. And the one that it popped out was like me talking about how Kano's going to go all in, and you were kind of like, I don't know. Boy, was I wrong on this one. I think we saw almost the entire starting 11 rotated. Great to see Amos back in the starting 11. Also nice to see some of the kind of players that we haven't seen as much that we want to see more of. Players like Busy, players like Noah. Definitely want to see more Scardina to see what he has. So, it's good rotation for that respect, but it is an interesting strategy and something we'll probably talk about with people's RIFC in threes and some questions. Is like, with this match, you'd assume that the Revs were going to kind of probably play some of their younger talent and some of their less experienced players to start and probably add in more experienced players throughout the game. Was there a missed opportunity for Allen FC to kind of jump on that and play kind of the starting players and get ahead early? So, interesting decision on the strategy there. But overall, I mean, this is definitely a team with plenty of talent in it.
Sure. It's tough because you're coming off a shorter week as well. You got some guys that need some minutes. Matt Hand says didn't mind the starting 11 given that you have to prepare for the possibility of the game going 120. Sure, fine. You could also prepare a starting 11 for trying to win it in 90. And I don't think this starting 11 set us up for winning this game in 90. And we'll talk about the subs later on. There are slides, and there are slides specifically on the subs. And we'll talk about the kind of tactical change that occurred when those subs came on as well. But I do think this lineup, it was always going to kind of sit back. And Kano talked in the post match about players having different profiles and being different and offering different things. Playing against this Revs team, and as we talk about the first half and get into that part of the chat, I think the biggest evident thing was their speed versus ours. I don't think there was much of a technical gap, and I think Timmy or Andrew Quadros said this next to me, in the second half as well. But I don't think there was a huge technical gap between the players. But I think the one thing that stood out for the Revs was their speed. They were first to every 50-50 ball. They were flying around, and I think that really caused us trouble. And you take out a player like J.J. Williams starting who can kind of combat that with his physicality and hold-up play. That became a big problem for this group in generating any kind of attack going forward.
Yeah, it's really well said. I think that first, 10 minutes or so, I would definitely say the Revs came out a little hotter. They were definitely got the better of, there weren't like a ton of chances in the first half. It was kind of like a stalemate for a lot of it, but they started off a little hot. I think it took us a second to settle in. Makes a lot of sense with so many changes. The nice thing, and we just put up the slide about the lineup, is we did see Kano stick with this kind of back four approach. And again, we talked about this, I think, last episode and probably the episode before. It's what's nice about the current makeup of the squad is we really do have a lot of bodies to play this actual formation and be consistent with it. So having two natural wingers, both Busy and Noah can play it there. You can debate if Noah is like a true natural winger, but also having the kind of really riches of talent in the midfield to take out a Hugo Baccarat and bring in Amos Shapiro-Thompson is fantastic. We know we have Haraval off the injury report, but waiting in the wings there. So really nice to go there. And overall, like a team that, in a formation, I'm excited to see as we keep investing in it. Do we start to see, some different things pick up?
Yeah, I think, I'm glad to see the formation stay, as you mentioned. I think this is going to be a very successful endeavor in switching to this from the consistent back five that we've seen all of last year, the year before as well. And I do think that this can generate a lot more offense, a lot more attack, and can kind of spring that press when the right people are in. This was not the pressing unit by any means. So I think people, and I guess the caveat to that is you're playing an MLS team versus having played Lexington. So you kind of have to approach this one differently. And I like a lot of what Kano did and dug the team in. But I think that it was always going to be a struggle for this lineup to score goals, because in order for this team to score goals, you got to get pressure, and you're missing some of the best pressers on the team in this 11.
Yeah, I wrote a question to you about this for Kano after the game, but one thing I thought was interesting about this is we saw that in Lexington, we really won that game via our high press. But this one we really settled into a mid block. And what a mid block means is more like you're, instead of like when the center backs, the other team center backs have the ball, you're really kind of jumping down their throats. You almost are letting them have it, and you're really trying to be compact in that midfield. And I think it really worked out. I mean, the half I would say was pretty boring from both ends, but like it was boring from both ends, and it was a very 0-0 that was like an earned 0-0 from both teams. We'll talk a bit more about it, but again, it's great that we're seeing the team have some tactical flexibility, which Kano mentioned in his post match about like, that's because it's a smart team, it's a capable team, and they can adjust to things in instruction when necessary, which is great.
Yeah, Derek brings up a good point as well in the chat. Hard to combat that aggressive lying on the turf strategy. Every time a Revs player went down, the trainer had to come out, and their stocky little portly water boy who came out with him too. That poor kid had to run a lot that night, and I don't get that. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 for me on that one. But I just think that we've heard rumors that the home opener that did not happen on time because of the snow. We went up and played this Revs team, and Koke had just returned. He played in very limited action, supposedly, and we heard that game was a 2-1. So I think you kind of came into this one a 2-1 loss for Rhode Island. You came into this one knowing you could actually score against these guys. And I think the team is a lot better than that first weekend, and newer players have acclimated better, and different styles. We're seeing this back four now. We weren't playing that at the beginning of the season, so you go in there knowing you can score, probably with your best 11 out there, and this rotation kind of took a little bit of that edge off early, and it was we're going to have to really sit back and defend in this one.
Yeah, well said.
As far as first half chances, like the Revs did have the lion's share of possession, in the first half as well. I thought a lot of ours, no shots there, but a lot of our chances of getting the ball into the box or getting the ball into a dangerous position were very overcooked because time on the ball was very limited. And I think a lot of that speaks to what I talked about a little earlier with the Rev speed really giving us a lot of trouble throughout this one. But some of the defensive actions, some of the clearances, the team stayed very compact, like you mentioned, played very well as a unit, lines held up, and it was just get the ball clear at all points for this one.
Yeah, I mean, even just looking at the stats slide here, it's like the possession was 53-47 in favor of the Revs, but they only had 2 shots. Their pass accuracy was like super high, but that's because we were letting them have the ball where we wanted them to have the ball, which was really just their center backs passing it between each other. And we'll talk more about that in the slide section here. But yeah, I really just found this to be a very controlled half from Rhode Island FC. I found it almost, quite frankly, looked a bit like a friendly between the two teams of like, everyone's trying to get in shape a bit. But yeah, I don't think either team had a huge chance, but I did think we had, again, like you said, the better of them. Busy had a couple in particular that I thought were really good. He had one
I thought he looked really good on the ball.
Yes.
I think his speed was able to kind of counter what they were doing. I thought Aldair was able to do that as well. Yep. I thought Frank later on when he came on really dealt with the speed fine. But I think it was the midfield like Clay and Amos really struggled with getting more than a few touches on the ball before having to play it out.
Yeah, the thing I wrote down, I was like, I really felt that like Clay, Amos, and Pity all like they kind of were like not existent really in that for a lot of that first half. I think they especially Clay, who stayed on the game, like really grew into it as it went on. But it was really strange just how little our midfield had the ball for what felt like we had, again, 47% possession. It wasn't like we didn't have the ball, just like
it's almost an even split. It's it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, like our midfield just wasn't getting on it. Amos, it's like basically his first game back, so that's getting up to speed really quickly. But again, I thought we had maybe the better of the chances, but at the end of the day, it was, I think, a very like both teams keeping each other at arm's length.
For sure. Passing accuracy, like you mentioned, was high for them. Pretty high for us, too, compared to the season stats, 81%, 8 fouls apiece, and 1 corner apiece. So, that kind of puts a pin in the first half talk. Unfortunately, when the second half got going, we did see New England get on the board first, just 6 minutes in with this goal.
Miller floats one. McIntosh there, knocks it back. Diego Fagundes!
So just a really nice worked play on this one.
Legend back at it again.
The ball to the back of the box, the header laid back, and a good finish by the geriatric Diego Fagundes on this one. Can't really blame anyone in particular on this one. I think we did just drop in a little too deep, and that kind of led for that header to get peeled back and left for him to slot that one home. Good finish. You got to give them credit. That was a extremely well worked play.
Yeah, I think it's well worked. I did get my first ever request for a slide today, which I was very flattered. But unfortunately, I didn't have time at all today to do this, and just a tough one to do. But the thing that bothered me a bit on this is I felt that like Aldair got a bit sucked in there, giving them that really like kind of wide open person at the back post. And I think we've seen this happen a few times this year where Hugo goes to close out, but like he just doesn't get all the way out to his person. So it's just a goal that like I feel like we've seen a couple times, and the person who wrote in also said that to me. So kind of frustrating, but again, it's all well executed. It's great one-touch stuff by the Revs, and a great shot to put it past Koke.
Yeah, it was a battle after that, and it looked very much like the first half until I believe it was 53rd minute when the subs started coming in, and we saw a triple change, and then we saw fourth subs who really, I think changed this one, and we'll talk about this a bit at length. Substitutes we saw in the second half: Hamidi Diop came on, Frank Nodarse, Hugo Bacharach, JJ Williams, Leo Afonso, and Jojea Quezera. I thought in particularly when Hugo, JJ, and Quezera came on, that was really what sparked this team. And when those three players got cooking, the ball transitioned into our attacking end a lot more frequently. Quezera, I thought, was just absolutely nasty on the ball. He was beating his man. He was beating his marks. I thought Hugo was a pretty good presence in the midfield as well, breaking lines. It's almost like when he was attacking and dribbling, they did not step to him with the ball. They let him get right to the edge of the box, and look to drive it deep in the box, to use Ryanism. And Leo had some very good chances as well, just could not put his foot through the ball properly and convert. But I think those subs came on starting in the 53rd and really changed the game. And I think those subs came on probably 10 minutes earlier than Kano had probably initially intended. I saw that trio kind of coming on more towards the 60th minute, and you're thinking at that point, if you're tied 60 minutes, you're going 30 minutes with that group to try to win it. So I think the goal sped up the substitutions, but I think it was much for the benefit in the second half, and really kind of got us on that attacking foot, although the goal did come at the last kick, and we'll get to that. But very, very good subs and very good change of systems midway this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw that group come in, and it just really was a big step up from what we've seen, both on a technical level, like you're saying with Jojea, but also just a physical level. Like bringing on JJ gave us such a greater focal point, and he was, obviously he gets a lot of credit for what happens next, but like he was so good. All the other parts of this game, like his hold-up play was unbelievable. The way he was bullying that center back was like, I think there's actually some Revs people on Twitter that are now like, holy crap, that guy, I don't know if he's going to make it at this point. Right. And then, Hugo, I mean, again, we talked about how he kind of started off slow, and I think just each game we've seen him really grow into it. He, like you said, like people didn't even want to step near him, because why would you? He's going to win the physical battle against almost any midfielder out there in like either league, really. He's massive for that position. So I thought he used his physicality well, and I think him and Clay really worked off each other better. We had way more control in that final 60 minutes plus once they came on. So it was big subs. It's a big call too to just do like a big swap out like that, like to take out basically your entire forward line and replace them new is kind of big to do at once. But those guys who have all been playing together recently gelled immediately and brought a ton to the game. Especially people are calling out, like, and you did as well, Quezera, like he's been just revived in this right wing role, especially coming back from Rwanda, versus where he plays for them. So just in general, it was like immediately obvious, like, oh, this is like the finishing team.
Yeah, I think the sign that made it really immediate obvious was JJ's first or second touch. It was that long ball played off a free kick to him, was immediately flicked on a header that led to a chance. So right away you saw this line come in and kind of have a big impact on the game, and kind of show like, a goal could be coming for this RIFC team.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also a play, which I don't know if you're referring to this exact one, but like Afonso, he's playing it behind. It's a really great chance. He's 1-on-1 with the keeper. Can't score it, but like it was just like so much more threat than we had previously seen.
Yeah, and Tyler says in the chat, we spent the last 10 to 15 minutes just trying to feed JJ. And to call out an earlier comment from the chat that we had on screen, that's when the Revs really took their time with laying down on the turf. I think that's what got the added 10 extra minutes, and it was every time a player fell, it was multiple minutes down. I think the ref took the bait on a lot in the second half. It was a tough watch. I think the ref really struggled. He kind of lost his game management in the second half on this one, and it benefited the Revs majorly in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird. So I'm just double checking that what I'm saying is even half correct, but I thought it was weird. I mean, there was that one, and I think the really long one where the guy, he kind of collided with Hugo. He did fall really awkwardly, and I think he did come out after. So I have to point that out.
He was also 4 feet from the sideline. Get him off the pitch.
Yep. I think that is the weirder part. But the thing that I was going to say, and I feel good about it, is I felt like the ref didn't use cards effectively to control this match. Mm-hmm. He also got baited into some weird stuff as well. Like the whole thing, and I think it was the first half with Karifa and whoever that guy was up top, their striker, like Karifa, it's one of those ones where Karifa sticks his arm out because the guy's behind him and he like leans his head into him and like his hand barely touches his face, but like he drops down like he got shot. Like, and then he's all pissed at Karifa as if it like he could see behind him the whole time. So they were doing a lot of that stuff, which like you could call it gamesmanship if you want. But yeah, I just think the ref, not that he encouraged it, but he did not discourage the way the game was progressing by using the tool he has available to him, which is cards.
Yeah, there was definitely no consistency with it for sure. Getting back to JJ, Timmy brings this up in the chat. JJ mentioned in the post game that the Revs are playing him clean as opposed to USL Championship where he gets grappled every game. And you know, he even alluded to it. That's why he was freed up on a lot of those headers because he was able to kind of peel back and find those channels between the center backs and get himself some good looks. And boy, did he get a really good look in the 90th minute plus 11. And this was after a pretty controversial play where Aldair was absolutely wiped out in the box. And Joe Burns, I think, said it best, ball don't lie. Getting that drop ball on the restart and then scoring immediately after was karma for what probably should have been a penalty. Yeah, Ryan, if you want to speak to that play leading up to it before I play the replay.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was like obviously I think they actually kept mentioning this on the broadcast. Like, there's no VAR in this game, which is a big difference for these MLS players. I could not believe like that. To me, it was like a pretty clear penalty shout. Like he's completely smoked,
thrown to the ground.
Yeah, so I don't know what that like. Especially when like it felt like they were getting a lot of calls of like the keeper not being touched at all. Like he was going down and they would call it on the corner. Like, so the minute the keeper was touched, it's like a foul, but like the keeper can just destroy Aldair and it doesn't matter. So that was really strange. But to your point, like, you know, ball don't lie on the corner there.
Yeah, Tyler says too, the ref was mostly letting the guys play and then would randomly call something out of thin air, like come up with some bullshit. And I think that level of inconsistency was frustrating the crowd at Tidewater for sure.
Yeah, and I guess just one thing on the ball beforehand. It actually like all really comes from again JJ. So Clay like just puts like kind of a really like I was like super pissed when he put the ball in because it was like this big looping cross. I'm like, oh my god, the keeper's gonna claim it. But JJ goes up and like somehow contests with his head a ball the keeper's trying to catch, and the keeper wasn't like small by any means. So the fact that he was able to get up there, put a clean and good contest in is really what allowed then, you know, Aldair to get kind of foul and the big collision to happen. We get the drop ball, and then I think you are about to show us what happened after that.
Here it is.
And somehow or anher, Rhode Island
and I think I saw a lot of Revs fans bitching about this drop ball
Still
restart.
A little bit of time left.
And
Joe deflected.
You know what led to
toward
this
Williams,
moment right here, which sent Tidewater into absolute
JJ Williams ties it at
stuck
the
JJ Flex on this, and you know the crowd celebrating. Flanny getting into it there, absolute awesome stuff. Our guy Scott Bear getting there for all the good videos. Flanny's pelted with something there too, pretty incredible. But just a really, really good moment. Matt Jean swinging the paddle, something that we'll definitely remember for a long time as RIFC fans. Unfortunately, not the end result that we would have liked to have seen, but just a really nice ball in, a really nice play, and it got quiet at the fort on the road across the way after that.
The amount, and if you're on the podcast, I'm sorry, it's visual, but the amount of smoke coming out of section 1, I mean, 14, 15, 6, or 6, I don't know, whatever the three are at the end, but 116 specifically is unbelievable. Absolute limbs. You know, there have been, I missed a few moments at Centerville Bank Stadium so far, and previously the North Carolina win was the one that always like killed me that I wasn't there for, which was the first kind of win in the stadium. But this one I think is number one at this point because, you know, a last minute winner against a packed house on a Wednesday night where everyone's just like leaning into having fun and enjoying it. You know, it doesn't get much better than this. So I hope everyone who was there really cherishes this one because that's a memory I hope everyone has forever.
Yeah, for sure. Just a really, really cool moment. The smokes at the beginning of the game, too, were absolutely incredible. It was a sea of yellow and blue for quite a few minutes after, and I'll talk about the, you know, support in that whole start to the game and versus theirs as well in a little bit. And when we get into RIFC in 3, Timmy says, I don't know what I did to Matt in that moment. He didn't hit the train horn, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. God. But it was just absolutely awesome. People losing all control of their body. Fluids were flying. Heel was standing on a rail, shirtless with the luchador mask. Just people were throwing him water bottles with the cap off, and he was spinning water everywhere. It was just an absolutely awesome scene. Awesome thing to be a part of, and something I know I'll remember for a long, long time. And last kick of the game, to see us kind of get there with that was pretty impressive, and showed the no quit attitude that this team has, and staying in this one and fighting till the very end.
Yeah, I mean, it really reminded us of like that, not that never say die attitude that we talked about a lot year one going to the playoffs. Like that team was always like, never count them out. And last year I think there was a bit of questions. It's like, does that team still exist? Obviously they went with a different playoff slogan, which you should have a different one every year. It's fun to do that, but it's really nice to see, the way they fought. Like, obviously getting the goal is the reward for all that effort, but just the fact that it was a constant assault on their box for the last like 10 minutes plus, maybe 15 minutes plus this game was what you want to see. So, again, the goal is fantastic, but the fact that we just had sustained pressure and we just kept going and going and going, like that's what you want to see as a fan.
I know I keep saying last kick of the game, which is actually incorrect in this point. And JJ did have a really good chance. And he said in the post match too, like, I felt like we could have won this one in regulation with that header that he had just near the top of the bar. And he spoke to the fact that he had a lot more time to kind of pick his spot on that one than he thought he would have. And he kind of rushed it, and that was the end result. But I think to, kind of put a pin in the second half and sum it up, there were definitely chances after this, and RIFC very well could have headed into the locker room 2-1 victorious at the final time whistle.
Yeah, at the end of the day, though, like if you're Rhode Island FC, like you had to be feeling pretty good going into that second half. Like you just put on all your kind of best guys to see this through, and then the Revs, obviously you're seconds away from this being over, and now you got to put an extra 30 minutes or so in your legs. Like it's just, it's tough, but that's the sport. That's cup football, baby.
So full-time stats, RIFC actually won the possession battle because of that second half performance, 54% to 46. The Revs outshot us 7-6, but we had 2 on target to their 1. 2 big chances, Matt Hands, for RIFC. RIFC with 82% passing accuracy to 80 for the Revs. 18 falls for RIFC, 15 for New England, and corners were 2 apiece. So how are you feeling heading into added extra time, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, with the pressure that we saw continuously at the end of the match, and even before that, like I really like JJ really just caused them problems. Like there's no other way you can say it. Like JJ was really good. I thought him and Noah had some good combinations. I thought Quizera was really giving good service. And then like Hugo, Clay were kind of doing their thing behind them. So, you had to be feeling okay, especially. And then Giap also came out. I thought he had a really great cameo. Like. Mm-hmm. Both from a defensive standpoint, but also really pulling the strings back there as well. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, both teams kind of played all their cards, and it was really like what we saw at the end was what we were going to keep seeing. So I thought it was absolutely anyone's game. And at that point, you had to say like Rhode Island looked like the better team. It looked like they were going to have the better chance to score. Yeah,
and I don't know if I'm going to butcher which first added extra time or second added extra time half it was, but I believe it was the second. Grant Stoneman, having played the whole 120 minutes for this one, had an absolutely key, I believe it was the second period of added extra time, absolutely key clearance off the line. And, we've kind of given him some stick for some of his performances, but this was a really gutsy performance from Grant, and he was pretty solid on the night as well. Added extra time, the first one, 46% possession for the Revs.
So I would just say I kept adding on to the final stat. So obviously not each. It makes way more sense for me not to do it this way. So I will in the future.
And we'll end it there with added 2. But like I said, that big goal line clearance from Grant, I think, was one of the highlights for that. I think Timmy and I were going through heart palpitations while that happened. But I think overall, if you look at the 120-minute stat line, that's the big telling one. We outpossessed them, we outshot them on target, had more big chances, completed more passes, had more fouls as well, and corners were an even split. But we stood toe-to-toe with them for 120 minutes, and I think if there was going to be a team that won this one in regulation, RIFC definitely had the better chance to be victorious.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, listener. I completely missed the second half of extra time on baby duty, but from everything I've seen and heard, I mean, even like right away in the first extra time, we were by far the better team. I thought, like, I really expected us to score for a while there. So, obviously frustrating that we didn't, especially with what's to come. But yeah, I mean, it was great to see that we were able to take the momentum, keep going. Like, we didn't let the fact that the game kind of ended kill that momentum. Like, that's one of those big things where, like, if one team's really under pressure going to halftime, you're like, the announcers are always like, oh, that one team's going to be so relieved. And then a lot of times, though, you do see, like, it's kind of like a boxer at the end of a round. Like, they get that breather, they can regroup, and they come back out and they're better. Luckily, Rhode Island FC didn't take their foot off the gas here.
Right. So we've seen this team not perform well. Only one penalty win in club history versus Charleston. How were you feeling going into penalty kicks? You saw the long discussion with Koke and the referee. He was very upset with what looked like the fact that the penalty kicks are going to be taken down there. The arguing continued all the way until the box and setting up for it. We did see the Rev staff come over and pick up the corner flags on our side. So we kind of knew that was going to happen. But I do give, the bucket section stayed together and weathered this one from afar. But I do give a lot of the fans elsewhere in the stadium credit who made the pilgrimage to the north end and, kind of squeezed in and around the Revs fans to drown them out and give RIFC some support as well. But I have to admit, I did not have the greatest feeling heading into PKs. I thought, we battled back, we did all this, and it could all be for naught because we've seen how this team performs during penalty kick shootouts, and that feeling and image was still fresh in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to to really feel good about this team of PKs. Like, we saw in this competition, they lost 2 of them last year. Obviously we did see them win in Charleston, but quite frankly, a lot of the guys who scored the PKs in those shootouts aren't here anymore. Max Rodriguez was kind of our penalty specialist last year. Like, I know people have a lot of mixed feelings about his time in Rhode Island.
You were going to say Merchant.
I was not going to say Merchant, but I mean, there was a point where people were calling him out as a penalty merchant when, like, we needed a penalty merchant because we don't really execute well on them. In the Charleston game, Mbika also took one. He took the final one, which was one of the funnier PKs I've ever seen. But he put it in the net, which is what counts. So obviously, it's tough with the players out there. We have the scars of seeing a lot of them not execute on penalties, and now again we see that scars. I know people ask Kano a lot after the match, like, and it doesn't seem like he puts much kind of stock in any of this. He's like, we've won some, we've lost some, it is what it is. But I'm a little concerned that, like, this kind of keeps happening, especially when, we saw the way that Pittsburgh won the championship last year. They just didn't play soccer and then won penalty shootouts. And, it's except for against one team that I won't name in the playoffs where they scored the one goal. So it's tough to not be concerned at this point because we've seen it over and over again from the same players.
Yeah, Matt Jean says word is RIFC won the toss and elected for the South End. I can say sources have confirmed that that was the case, and that was a big issue with what was going on the pitch to start that. But if you look at this competition's rules, there are some really ambiguous words in there about a referee can override and decide which end it goes on. But a coin must be flipped. It's very weirdly and oddly written.
One of the weirdest things I've ever heard.
It's absolutely terrible. So the fact that all happened, it was more of a horse and pony show than actually a meaning coin flip. Kind of reading the Open Cup rules, and Andrew Quadros was the one that found that last night. So I want to give him credit. But the fact that we won the toss and we're not allowed to kick in the side that we wanted to is just stupid. It makes no sense. It's a very American soccer.
So if the coin is meaningless, what is the funniest
But it has to be flipped. That's
but what's the funniest thing they could have put on a commemorative coin for Rhode Island FC versus New England Revolution?
Ooh. Evan Ryan.
Yeah. Okay. So he's on one side. What's the other side?
Matt Hans.
Beautiful.
What about you? What are you going with for that?
I was hoping you didn't kick that back to me. I'm trying to think of what's like very meaningful between the two teams. I mean, you could have put an empty supporter section to for the rebellion and the Midnight Riders. I think that would have been good for them. And why not put Chip on there? I think he deserves it. A commemorative coin for the night. You got to bring the good guy in there.
All right. Joe Burns says referee can overrule it for certain reasons, but I will also say to you, the reasons on the U.S. Open Cup list of why they can is basically discretion. So I will say, like, having read the Open Cup rules on the coin toss, discretion is one of them. So it's
it's a tough day when the Tide Talk crew gets deep in the weeds. Like when Matt Kerwin is reading rule books, like that is a tough day.
Well, it's funny because I could quote the basketball rule book to you inside and out, but not the soccer rule book. And the U.S. Open Cup rule book is a totally different.
I'll say it sounds like there's no point in reading it because it doesn't really matter. You just get to kind of make it up as you go, like we've seen with seeding too and stuff like that. So this is it sucks, but not surprising. I'll tell you that much.
Yep. So first penalty kick, we saw Joe slot it home. Very cool, calm, collected. Very nice finish. And then things all kind of went sour from there. Your thoughts on the shootout as it played out, Ryan?
Yeah, again, it's unfortunately like the same players we've seen miss these a few times, and I think that's what gets me nervous, especially when they're kind of the people you also are hoping are top goal scorers. Like, it's beautiful that our center back is able to bury these, but I would love to see JJ, Quizera, Leo like be able to put these in the back of the net. So the other thing too is, like, I saw a lot of like commentary of like, the keeper just made some great saves. I don't know that he made a lot of great saves. Like, I thought they weren't great penalties. Like, the fact that he dove the right way is
like Quadro said to me after the Quizera one, that whole point of that like hop juke step is to make him go the wrong way, and he sent him one way, but he kicked it that way too. So that was the problem with the execution in that one specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny on TV they called it out too. So overall, it's something I think is we can work on it. Do I need us to work on it right now? No, because like PK has become much more of a thing later in the season. But at the end of the day, though, like a way that we won a couple games last year was by burying a penalty kick. So really need someone to get at least up their consistency. Especially again, like that group I just mentioned is probably gonna be the ones who are going to take that ball immediately when it's played, when the referee blows the whistle. Really need them to be the ones that kind of puts us on their shoulder, puts like the team on their back and buries a couple.
Yeah, and then JJ, I think, saw the keeper moving early and tried to squeeze it into that corner and just went way too far wide with it. So I don't know, just a tough watch. And he actually did mention in the post match that they practice these a lot. They do a lot of penalty kicks at training, and clearly you wouldn't know if you watched that performance.
I actually wish he didn't say that, because like I want to believe that they're just not doing it and working on other more important stuff right now. But keep practicing, guys.
That's it. So we'll take a listen to Kano and what his thoughts were immediately post match with his statement.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming out. Head coach and general manager Kano Smith. Coach, if you would just start with an opening statement on the loss, and then we'll open it up to questions.
So proud of our team. The way they played, with the aggressiveness that they played, and in extra time still pressing and pushing to try and win the game. Like, soccer's a cruel game sometimes, but no disappointment on my end. I'm so proud of that team. The things that they've done in the past that have made me proud, but this is right up there.
So I thought that was a really nice bit from Kano, talking about, this being one of his proudest moments and how things that have happened in the past to this team, things that they've done before, but him really being proud of the fight and what they did, throughout this one. And like Pawtucket Jay says, how could you not be proud of the team? Just a complete team performance. If you watched our opening clip, he talks about Aldair, having to come off because he was so cramped up. Definitely had run his race long before the 120. Noah had also run his race long before that 120, but those guys stayed out there. One of his other quotes after this clip was about how in the average USL championship game, players run about 13K, like his highest running players in each match. And the highest guy last night for RIFC was 17K. So just an absolute monster shift by this team and what they put in, and just a really good performance, a really gritty performance, and one that, although we did not walk away with 3 points, advancing on to the next round of the Cup, we certainly could have.
Yeah, and just for our American listeners, it's like 10.5 miles. It's like a crazy amount of running.
I like how you pulled up a new tab to convert that.
You know I did. But yeah, like pretty crazy. I mean, someone that didn't get mentioned in terms of just like the amount of work they put in, and I'm assuming he's one of the people that are probably high up on this list of like how much ground they're covering, is Clay Holstad. The fact that I can't like remember him really sitting much this season. He's been like the one person who's had to be the mainstay in the middle, like with Hugo being suspended, also like being out the first game for the first kind of most of it, with Harabout being injured, with Amos being out. So he's had to really be the glue there. And the fact that he went another 120 is crazy, and just really speaks to like, both the just like athleticism, the just pure like work ethic that he puts in, but also just like, how much he gives to this team.
Yeah, Timmy mentioned, you mentioned Clay. Timmy said maybe Noah too. I think Pawtucket Jay's got a good shot with Aldair. He put in an absolutely marauding performance up the wing, up and down all night long. He was a pesky defender. He was pressing on the ends when he could. Just an absolute shift. And like we said, Kano mentioned him and how many minutes he's played over these last few weeks. Just a really, really awesome performance and gritty performance from the whole team. And I think that's definitely the biggest takeaway. So we'll shift gears a little bit and we'll get to your thoughts with RIFC in 3. Good, better, best, good, bad, ugly. It was up to you for this one. I'm going to do my best to attempt to start in the Rhode Island 1636 Discord, but that channel went haywire. So I'm going to pick between, as many as I can and try to read through as best I can. I popped in, kind of before and looked at it, and holy moly, were there a lot of takes, a lot of conversation, which is good. That's what we want for the fans, by the fans. We want to hear from you, and we'll comment on as much as we can. Leo's good was JJ making an impression on the game late as offensive pressure built up, culminating in the goal at the death of regulation. Better, improving progression up the middle when attempting to build out of the back as the game went on. Best, the grit and attitude we played with against the top division side, no matter how shaky they may be. RIFC in 3, penalties strike again. Nateski's RIFC in 3 was penalties not good. Dave Audette had good, hard-fought battle. Better, JJ's header in front of Defiance with no time left. Best, showing why we are the best supporter group in New England. RIFC in 3, Defiance is forever. As I scroll through, Matt Hands has his Riptide report out. Make sure you go read that. He was really changed in his views on the game, sitting in the expensive seats for this one. So, give him a read there for sure. Andrew Milko is good. The energy in our home. Better, team looked great and fought hard. Best, JJ Williams with the header at the death. RIFC in 3, a spiritual victory. I like that one. Bonus, ugly, the fella in the green. That ref sucked. He was bad. RFC in 3, New England Ref-olution. Very nice pun there. Absolutely love it. Scott from Wales, good. Consistently trying to do what works. Wide ball and then find the tall guy to head it. Better, excellent noise coming from the supporters group. Best, the team never gave up. Excellent showing from all the lads, but special shout out to Amos and Karifa, who gave everything last night. RIFC in 3, fuck the Revs. Bonus, ugly. Gimps turning up in 2 shirts and 2 scarves. Disgusting behavior. We're going to talk about this after I get through all of the takes on all of our socials, because a lot of the chatter was about people who support both teams. So we'll share our thoughts on that. After all these get in. Finishing up with the takes on RFC in 3, our guy Patrick McKenna, who was caught on dance cam at the stadium, is a really good clip in the Tide Talk channel on the Defiance Discord of Pat shaking his moneymaker. Good stuff. His RAFC in 3, Rev suck. Am I right? Good, seeing the momentum from Lexington carry into this match. Better, seeing the drive our players had from start to finish. The game is everything, as did our fans. Defiance was huge. Best, celebrating with family, one of the greatest and most euphoric sporting moments that I've witnessed. That JJ goal will just live on in infamy for so many of us for such a long time. RAFC in 3, Taris was not quite enough. Good, the effort on the field. Better, JJ's last second goal. Best, Labanda and the bucket were on fire. Ugly, I know it's not a huge part of the game, but RAFC looked bad on PKs again. Line it up and kick it as hard as you can. How hard is that, Ryan? Sounds simple when you say it like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hey, they're practicing it. That's all that matters.
That's it. Matt Jean's RFC in 3 was thank you 36ers. Good. Looks like our main starting 11 is starting to click together. I think that's a very underrated point from Lexington and rolling into this one. Better was JJ's goal, which hopefully gets him on track. Best Defiance showed why we are the best supporters in all of New England. Pawtucket Jays, a good was Grant Stoneman's save. Better was JJ being the big man in a big game. Best, the team's overall never say die effort. Joe Burns, RAFC in 3. He left it blank. I think he was probably typing. His great was effort to play 3 games in that short of time, going 120 minutes against an MLS team after danging the 101st minute. Good, we were treated to a fun game to watch. Bad, stepping in light pole hole in the march line. And Timmy responded that was bad. And he had flip-flops on, so Joe was good. Timmy's good was best atmosphere at Tidewater yet. Nonstop energy from 116. And I talked about the bucket bouncing in the first half, and I thought the first half, particularly the chanting and singing, was the loudest voice that RAFC has seen inside the new stadium. Even more than the home opener and more than any kind of sellout or whatever they might call a sellout, this was the loudest match. And big shout out to Irvin and big credit to Irvin for leading a lot of those chances. It was loud. It was electric. It was just really, really good stuff. Timmy's better was incredible fight from the team in the second half, leading to the JJ equalizer. Ugly, our record in shootouts at Tidewater. RAFC in 3, proud of RI. And Joe Burns did reply with his RAFC in 3, ball don't lie. So stuck with it. Love to hear that. On Twitter, we had couple of RFC in 3s and good, bad, and ugly. We'll start with Tyler Hatch, RFC in 3, whistle, whistle, whistle. I think specifically in that second half, it was just a constant barrage of whistles. Play was very disjointed. It carried on into extra time, and that referee really struggled. Good atmosphere in 116, especially after JJ's equalizer. Bad was rotating the squad ahead of a week off. Ugly, we have no idea what we're doing in penalty shootouts. FQB had start best 11 for his RIFC in 3. Good, fighting until the whistle. Bad, weak lineup against a team you could have beaten in regulation with your starters pressing and playing transition ball. Ugly, our PK attempts. Better, Hugo is back to his brilliant form. And best is our fans. On Facebook, we had Chris Peterson, good first half. Better second half. Best, this team's heart. We are different this year, and it's starting to show. At first, I think I might have questioned that, Chris, but we're starting to see a little different change in this team and what that looks like. On Instagram, Sibes Rule had only the good, playing with heart. Like that one a lot. C. Merritt said, had him scared. The legendary 006, mighty entertaining game. So, again, thank you to everyone who wrote in on all of our socials. We appreciate it. Again, if you're not following us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, make sure you do so so you can get your takes shared live on air. But Ryan, after we shared the takes, I wanted to go back to the conversation that broke out, and it was, I believe it was started by Andrew Hill. I truly do not understand people who are fans of both teams, and I'm not saying you can never cheer for the Revs. If the Revs are in the MLS final and you want to put the game on hoping they win, fine. Irvin says, shh, don't say that. The Revs fans will get very mad. He said it's dumb, though. Anyone who says that is just telling us they aren't actually a fan of either team. I very much side with Andrew on this one. I'm going to read 2 more takes, and then I'm going to kick it to you for your thoughts. Irvin's response was, my take is you can support both teams, but you can't be a diehard for both. I can wish the best for the Revs and keep tabs on them and support that way. But if you put your time and money on both teams, you can't put your time and money on both teams. You can't get to both games if you're a season ticket holder. You can't support away days for both teams. You can't put all of your time in both teams, even if they are not in the same league. I'm not saying you can't watch them, and maybe RFC plays away and they play home, but you truly can't really be a fan of both teams. Jericho followed up with, this is pretty much my feeling about Portland. She wants Portland to succeed, loves their merch, want people who are local to Portland to go to their games, be season ticket members, and join Dorigo Union. She says she will root for Portland over any other USL team, well, USL 1 team, but that's it. Matt Hand said that's spot on. And then Andrew Hill, I'll end it with his, said, totally, the nature of soccer in U.S. is so fragile enough that I want all USL and lower division teams to succeed, at least in the sense of having fans and sponsors and all that. But I do not so secretly hope that MLS fails and loses money, because I think nearly everything about the structure and organization and philosophy of the league is anti-ethical to what soccer can and should be. I would add here in America with that as well. So we've seen people with 2 scarves. We've seen people with 2 scarves and 2 jerseys. We've seen people who claim they support both teams. What's your take on all this, Ryan?
Oof. Yeah, so I'm not someone who gets particularly worked up by the Revs. I definitely care more about like the rival teams that we're going to see more often, like a Hartford, or even like Louisville or Charleston, or kind of the teams within our league. I do think at the end of the day, right, like you can say you support both teams, but if if their games are at the same exact time, you have season tickets to both, you technically do make a decision of which one you're gonna go to and support. So
especially when they're playing one another.
Yes, I mean that's the other thing too. So I know there's a lot of people out there that this is a little bit more complicated, because the Revs were all we had available to us for 30 years if you wanted to be like a local fan. But I also know that there's a lot of people who tried to be fans of the Revs for 30 years and just felt like it was never paid off. So that's why a lot of people have gravitated to the culture and the atmosphere of Rhode Island FC. So at the end of the day, like to your point, like someone is going to be number one in your heart and in where you again spend the majority of your time and money. So I think just like practically you can't really be both, but at the same time, it's also like, yeah, like at the end of the day, like one of them is your true club, like the club of your heart. And I think that's the one on a night when they square up against each other, you have to support.
Yeah, I mean, I made a post across all of our socials. It was a zoom in of the quote pro support, and it was all of them flags down, which I thought it was cute that their flag bearer needed like a union mandated smoke break, or put the flag down break every 2 minutes. It seemed like that stupid Peter Griffin flag they had was down more than it was actually waving. And then I took a basically in selfie mode a picture of what our section looked like immediately behind me, and you can see Rowdy waving his flag. You can see Irvin standing on a rail. If you pull up our socials, you can find this. You can see the flags waving. You can see everyone kind of actively engaged, and I think it really shows the difference. And boy, oh boy, did the Revs fans take the bait on Facebook on this one. Andrew T. Facebook? Oh, yeah. Andrew T. Gillifilon, or however the hell you pronounce it, don't really care. Think he's an absolute scumbag after the interactions this morning. His response to the post was, "You live in Pawtucket. We live all over New England. We outsung you. We outscored you. We are better than you." Talking to Flight. So to give it a little bit of context, he's the drummer that wears the knit hat with all the pins on it. He looks like an absolute toolbox. Talking with Flanny, talking with Liam, who was on our photography credential last night, you could not hear a word they were saying, no matter what side of the stadium you were on. They were completely drowned out, and I think the first half, like I said, the vocal chants, the songs were absolutely incredible, killed it. Defiance made a tactical adjustment and put Labanda on the rail in the second half, and I thought that was a little counter to what we had going. I think the chants were absolutely great. And it kind of, I think the drums being in the front were the forefront of the second half in the support, and I think that kind of gave people a step back of like, I don't have to chant because the drums are out there bellowing and making all the noise. Nothing against Labanda or that decision, but I just think that the crowd was in such good voice for that first half. It had a different feel in the second half, and like I said, the loudest I've ever heard Tidewater was that first half of last night's game. And this guy claims that they outsung us, and they were doing their shanana, bouncing around, holding each other, giving tugs, whatever might have happened. But I could not hear one of their chants the entire second time. FQB says we heard them from the club level section on the first half. It did not go across the stadium. Other people across the stadium told us they could not hear what they said. He says,
I can add to your fodder here is on TV, you can only hear one.
Yeah, that's what it is. So this guy is just absolutely delusional. He he went on to
I mean,
battle with everyone who went at him.
I just don't. I want to be clear. I just don't care about this guy at all. Like I don't. Like I can't believe we're giving him airtime right now.
No, he's a tool. He claims he drove 3 hours. Good for you. The other 15 people that maybe could have driven 35 minutes did. But being that far down or that close to your home stadium and showing up with that support is meek and miserable, and you definitely lost the battle in the stands on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be super like I don't even understand why this is even a debate. Like it was there was like a 1/8 of the amount of people in their section, and like it was like they clearly are a group that like you could tell is not used to having the flexibility and the ability to do a lot of the things that Defiance is able to do. I mean, people are bringing it up in the chat, like just the flag waivers. Like I've tried to wave a flag for a hot second. It is a tough job, and the fact that like Rowdy, the Ruben front guy, is like it is like absolute shift that they put on those things, and the fact that they did it for all 120 minutes plus last night was incredible. So I don't know. Like to me, like all of this is not worth our time because like I don't know, they're just going to continue to be miserable up there, and like we're enjoying our thing. And I think what we're building is better from both a cultural standpoint and just like just a better environment.
Yeah, I think the end of the day is they're delusional. You can't support both. You got to pick one. The time is now. Join the great side of this one. Join RIFC. It is what it is.
Pirate ship.
That's it. We'll switch gears a little bit. Let's get in focus and we'll kind of start with the second half subs, Ryan. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so quick slides tonight. So in focus here, we have as Matt said, the second half subs. And I just have to give a round of applause to these 6 players. I mean, there were plenty of players like Grant Stillman, who we mentioned, who had a fantastic game. Aldair Sanchez, fantastic game. Clay had a fantastic game. But the vibe shifted when these subs started coming in. So Hugo had a 7.7 on FOTMob. He won 70% of his duels. And I think he led the game in duels 1, which was 12 of them. He also had 8 defensive actions, just like an absolute shift of just being absolutely everywhere and being just a human kind of battering ram in terms of like winning his duels. JJ Williams, I don't think I have to, say too much, like 7.6 on FOTMob. He won a goal. Again, 6 out of 9 aerial duels. Quizera, 7.5. He created 2 chances, 6 of 8 on duels 1. Leo had 1 shot on target, 7 defensive actions. Giap had the hockey assist, as I'm calling it, for JJ's goal, 3 out of 4 on ground duels. And then Frank came on 4 out of 4 duels 1. So like these guys just came on and just took it to the Revs and just won the individual battles that allowed us to really have the better of like the 60 minutes on of this match, even including extra time. This was all kind of really this core group came on and kind of said like, we are the core of this team. We are the starting contingent, and we are kind of here to make our mark. Especially a lot of these guys also like fringe MLS players, like Hugo, Leao, Giap, Quizera, Frank, even JJ. Like all of them have been on MLS rosters at different points. So I think it also gives them a little extra motivation in these ones. But at the end of the day, like they came on and won their battles, which allowed RFC to control.
For sure. Leading you into your next slides about the different tactical approach that we saw last night versus Lexington. We asked Kano about that post-match, so here's a look at that. A different opponent, but talk about the different style and flexibility that we're able to see. We saw a much higher press against Lexington on the weekend, and we saw a lower block this weekend. So how proud of you are with the flexibility within this team?
Yeah, proud. I mean, they're intelligent soccer players, so I think you have to be adaptable. But yeah, they executed the game plan.
I love that, he talked about the IQ of the players and, kind of how smart they are and able to adapt on those roles and do it so quickly. Also seemed like he was pretty unhappy to get a tactical question in that one. His initial,
I think he had a lot more to say about that.
in the air poll. I think he wanted to give a much different answer, and he kind of he really kind of looked at it and phrased that how he was going to answer this one.
Yeah, I think to be clear, there's nuance to this because I'm sure he would probably say like it fluctuated throughout the match, but this is what happens when you do slides during the match so that you can do your job today. But when you go into the next slide, so when we talk about a mid block, so I mentioned it at the beginning of the show where we see the high press a lot from this team. It's been a tenet of Ball, and I think it's really been one of our clear ways that we've created chances throughout all now 2+ years of this team. So when we talk about a mid block, this is a really good example of it, right? Is we're kind of sitting back a little bit more and we are letting New England just kind of have the ball. And I'm so sorry for the very low quality video from my phone, but yeah, we're just kind of letting them have the ball right at the midway line, and we are packing in tight. We're staying marked on their players and just
Very
letting them have it.
compact. Very
Compact. And then what happens here? So if you go to the next slide, is that like I mentioned, like the top touches for the Revs. Their left back had 99 touches. He led the entire game. Beeson, one of their center backs, has 94 touches, and Kohler had 66 touches. And these were all the leading touches on the Revolution. So the fact that we really allowed this to happen, especially in that first half, I think led to what we see on the next slide, which is a lot of control. So, when we are allowing them to kind of have the ball in that manner, we're in a really good shape, and allow us to really win our duels once they kind of bring it into the mixer, into the zone. So we won 81 duels. The Revs only won 59 in the night.
Yeah. I love it. We talked last time about how the smash and grab approach might be the way. But this, and you mentioned it, Hans mentioned it, seeing it as not really sustainable. But this is a new wrinkle that we've not really seen from this team, and probably more of a sustainable model, if you will, than kind of playing that only look to hit on the counter.
Yeah, I mean, and again, so we won our duels. They only had 2 shots on target the entire night and 0 big chances against. So it was again a sustainable way to play. But the thing I like most about it is that it gives us like another kind of tool in our toolkit, because this team, as I showed in Lexington, can press the hell out of you when they want to, and I think we did in the second half, especially once JJ, Quizera, Leo, Noah were kind of the front four. You saw a really coordinated, good press kind of really start to bother the Revolution. But the fact that even mid-game we could do it, or we could have different pressing triggers where, hey, maybe one of their center backs is the one to really jump on, whereas if the other one has the ball, just kind of step back and get to the mid block. So again, the fact that this team kind of can have that tactical flexibility is a really good sign for us to throughout the rest of the season here.
For sure. I think overall, to kind of put a pin in this one, the vibes on the night were so much better than the result. And I think it's still a night that a lot of people remember. You'll remember JJ scoring that goal and what 116 looked and felt like. You'll remember the kind of the bullshit of the referee in the second half, the things that went to lead to them taking the corner kick there. But overall, a game that we could have won, and I think scalping them in the U.S. Open Cup is in the near future. It wasn't this year, maybe it's next year, but it's not going to be a long wait before we finally pick them off in this competition, at least in my opinion. Any final thoughts from you, Ryan, on the night?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think at the end of the day, like, obviously wanted to get the win, but I think the tactical flexibility, I think what we saw, especially from like who I would consider our kind of core starters, I thought that was really encouraging. I think the fight was extremely encouraging for us to really claw back, get that goal at the final kick, as we've been calling it, but like the final kick of regular time. And we really battled. Like, it was a very even game. Revs fans are going to say like, oh, it wasn't our top guys out there. Doesn't matter. You play who you play. Like, whoever you're lined up against is who you're playing. And I thought we did a fantastic job there. And, for all of you who were there, or those of you who watched on TV like me, like, it's just one of those games, like, remember it. Like, it was a great moment. I mean, to see the passion like oozing through the TV, again, the jealousy I had, but also like the pride I had of the atmosphere that was created and what people were able to experience. I mean, you see people on Reddit and all over the place talking about like, I can't wait to go to my next game, which I think is exactly what you want to hear as someone who has zero financial stake in this team doing well, but like as someone who's just excited to kind of share these memories in this with everybody. So yeah, again, I think just remember this, it's a great moment. And again, for the actual team, like, huge match next week. We have the weekend off, but I actually saw a lot of players who are like just vacationing different places right now. So
Kano actually mentioned post-match that the original plan after this one is giving them 2 full days off, and he said after playing 120 might be 3 now.
Yeah, I mean, I wish as podcasters we also got to take a couple, days off here, but we will persevere. But yeah, again, I think it's good momentum, and I'm excited to see what the team can do against Charleston next week, because that's going to be obviously a very tough match for us. They've just continued to be good. So yeah, more to come, but things are trending positively right now, I would say.
Yeah, FOTMOB has that as a 7:30 p.m. start. Is that correct, or is it actually a 7? I don't even know. Looking at the tickets off the top of my head, somebody in the chat, Matt Hands, will probably pop that out quicker than I can say it. But Charleston coming off a 3-0 loss in Brooklyn, the shutout by none other than friend of Tide Talk, Jackson Lee. So we get to see him. He's back in that starting role. We mentioned he had not started first couple of games of the season due to injury, but he's in that starting role. Got a huge shutout against Charleston, fresh off their win against Louisville. So I think Charleston's going to be looking for blood in this one. They're going to be looking to get 3 points, and hopefully we can make it a loud atmosphere. School vacation week too, so I think the kids could be out. It could be a fun night, and it is 7:30, and all home matches are 7:30 going forward. So that extra half an hour to get you lubed up a little bit better beforehand. Again, get that voice in full cry. But thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. If you haven't already, smash that like button. I'm sure we'll come up with something for Sunday, some kind of Charleston preview that we can pump out. The double pivot boys did not want to DP each other on Sunday, so you can take that up with Andrew and Timmy. I had to stand between the two of them last night for the second half, and let me tell you, that's an experience. Shout out to Andrew, though. Will joined us for the second half, and giving him tactical reasons of why players did certain things and what they could have done differently. A fan, dad, a coach, all in one. Very, very nice moment for the Quadros boys in there. But thank you again to everyone who joined us tonight. That'll wrap things up. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt. For Ryan, thanks again for joining. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Tide.
Up the Tide.